Hi, this is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald. Welcome to my StarOS Week in Review podcast. This is podcast number 111. Any articles or videos mentioned can be found on my website at Intergalactic Herald. Look for news recap number 159. So just a quick summary of things to go over. There were some videos or information put out, kind of continuing with the AI partnership that StarAtlas was entering into. There was a StarAtlas economic report was published. The Atlas Brew occurred. It was kind of a free-form one related to the state of StarAtlas. The economic team did their monthly economic forum, and then finally StarAtlas published a Medium article near the end of the week. Before I get to that, just a couple things about projects I'm working on in the StarAtlas ecosystem. One, I do have a StarAtlas DAO proposal, a PIP, out there for an in-person community meetup platform. If anybody's interested in reading that or providing feedback, please look for StarAtlas Discord for the DAO section and draft PIPs, and you'll find it under with my name and in-person community meetup platform. I do have one active StarAtlas project. It's my merch store at Intergalactic Gear. That's at intergalacticgear.com, open for business. I own a few StarAtlas mugs, trying to build some wall art, but been kind of working on other StarAtlas proposals in the interim. And then I am interested in creating a StarAtlas community called Intergalactic Coalition. This is going to be kind of like a non-guild guild, so you don't have to join a guild if you're not going to join a guild, but you still want to kind of hang out with people and you want a smaller environment than the StarAtlas Discord. Definitely looking to bring everyone together that fits those criteria. So if you go to intergalacticcoalition.com, I do have an interest survey. You can check out and learn more there. So let me go ahead and get into the main content. As I mentioned, there's some additional information on the AI partnership that StarAtlas announced the previous week. Beyond the Horizon did a great video where he went through both the announcement, I think, and a little bit on this X-Space that StarAtlas CEO Mike Wagner did with someone at the other company, which I have already forgotten the name of. So I have links to both of those. So if you want to kind of continue learning more about that AI partnership. Also, I think the community team said that this week they did a different Atlas Brew so that next week they can do one on AI. So I think there'll be some more information coming to the community for that. So check out those things. Also, in my weekly news recap, I do have a link to the StarAtlas economic report that came out. Again, the economic team within StarAtlas produces quarterly reports. So they're great. I just, again, have a hard time reading them. Anybody's followed along. I'm totally supportive of that StarAtlas has a fully functional economy and have economists and data analysts and all that on the team. I don't know. I just can't make the connection. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm totally in for economy. I totally understand the benefits of finances, run my business, have personal finances, all that stuff. It's impenetrable to me. I apologize. But again, that to each his own. And again, some people enjoy it. So definitely read it if you're interested. And actually, I'll just mention real quick, even though I usually like to go in order, on Thursday, the economic forum from the team was there. I just literally finished listening to that. Again, lots of great information. They did review kind of some of the overviews of the economic report, also talked about some of the other more things, the dashboards they have on the website, and then a little bit talking about some of the specifics. So again, tons of great information, just hard for me to stay engaged. But that's just me. You may totally enjoy it, and I'm, again, totally glad to have it. So going out of order, back to Wednesday, the Atlas Brew from the community team occurred. They did kind of a state of StarAtlas, and what they did is they kind of looked at different areas of StarAtlas from the UE5 showroom to Sage browser to, I think, Fleet Rentals, and just kind of asked everybody who was there to kind of comment in the chat on different things, how things were going, if they like things changed. So I think it's really great the community team does these kind of feedback or, in a sense, survey sessions where they get some feedback to take back to the team. So I think that's really great. And then finally, StarAtlas published a Medium article. Anyways, so there's some information. I'll talk about it in the next section, but I did have that. So that was kind of a wrap up of everything that occurred this past week in StarAtlas. So kind of more, my next section, kind of the state of StarAtlas, kind of talking about kind of how I thought about some of those. I was mentioning kind of that Medium article. One thing that was mentioned, I guess I've heard it once or twice before, but they kind of talked about that StarAtlas is creating a gaming cyber nation. And I'm not sure if, again, that's the branding going forward. I kind of wonder if this is a pivot from the use of the word metaverse. I don't know, personally kind of liked metaverse, but I know now it's got definitely a, I guess just bad connotation for all the things that were created kind of in Web3, metaverse, goggles, all that stuff. Cyber Nation yeah, maybe it's just a rebranding. We'll see if which terms kind of go forward. But overall, it wasn't a bad article. I just wasn't sure if, again, it was more of, I don't know. And maybe part of it is just the previous articles they've been putting out on Medium have been more of announcements for past things, whether it was fleet rentals or crew cards or whatever. So I don't know. I guess I was starting to read it with different expectations, and then I kind of ended reading it like, okay, cool. So anyways, I'm not saying it's not worth the read, but I'm, again, kind of not a normal article that comes out from them on their Medium. So yeah, anyway, so Gaming Cybernation. Kind of alluded to it on the Star Atlas Brew, asking for community feedback. And again, now that I've listened to the Economic Forum, they too are asking. So again, I really do want to kind of mention that this is a great thing and kind of does speak to the openness of the community aspect of Star Atlas, where the development team, through either, if you're in the Discord and you have a certain thing, you can actually ask questions to the team in the Foundation Room. Now, of course, anyone can read it, so you get a lot of that kind of direct information from the team. In past week, I was going to document it, but I forgot to. There was actually a great couple posts from I do not remember everybody's title nor their name, but one of the founders who's dealing with product design, Danny, I think. Man, sorry. Someday it's again, I've said this before. You got your name and you got your screen name, and I don't know why just two names, I can't put them in my brain as together, and it's just something my brain just doesn't work with. Sorry. But anyways, he was commenting on, again, some of the things about putting things in the UE5 version and talking about the necessary need for cheat catching restrictions. I don't know. Anyways, it was really fascinating because it was like, I didn't realize how hard that would be. But I was also like, but we have Sage and it has real blockchain things. So anyways, but again, more my point of asking for feedback. So again, there's some direct things. The community team does a great job with the Atlas Brews and doing that. So I think they're kind of state of Star Atlas asking questions one, and the Economic Forum, they always have a Q&A at the end. So I think, again, it does show kind of the really strength, I think, how the Star Atlas team has really embraced the community, but also looking to them to help develop the game and provide feedback. So I think that's a lot of great things. One thing the Atlas Brew did show up, and I don't know, we'll see, but there was a lot of talk about, quote, a lot of upgrades coming this year. And again, if you've been following Star Atlas for a few years now, kind of take some of this with a grain of salt. But, and I guess I'll be the first time I'll say this, but I'm too feeling optimistic that this is the year. And again, I've been hesitant to ever kind of jump on that kind of philosophy because things change. Again, nobody knew FTX was going to happen. And again, you look at token prices and block or crypto in general. I mean, it's definitely not as strong as it was just a few months ago, with a lot of external economic things going on. So, I hope we do see upgrades. Definitely the cadence of increasing the UE5 versions is definitely a positive sign. And then there's been new features in the Sage. So again, maybe finally the pieces are all going there. But again, it was spoken a lot at the Atlas Brew, I guess we'll say. And so, it will be interesting to see how it goes. So again, we'll see that. So anyways, that was kind of it. Wasn't that it was a slow week or anything. I guess just, steady week of community outreach and information. I guess it's first of the month too. So anyway, so that's it. And then I usually have a segment on my journey playing Star Atlas, but I'll admit, if you listened to my last one, you heard me kind of say I needed just to spend more time figuring out some calculation on how to get fuel somewhere, or local markets, I guess. And I just was running out of resources to do whatever I was doing. And so I just turned off my Sly Assistant and turned off my laptop. And to be honest, I never opened it up again. So this first week, I don't think I've even looked at it once. And I guess just maybe a kind of couple comments. Part of it is I just felt like I hadn't made the time to figure out what to do to make my gaming supply chain a little more foolproof, or at least know what, hey, do this, do that, or what's the number, or something like that. And part of it, again, is this whole concept that I'm struggling with is if I'm just simply moving or mining and moving resources on my goal to try to get a Mamba X, and then I run out of resources, I should just know what to do next. And since I don't know that, it is kind of, I just feel like I'm going through the motions without actually having a game plan. And the biggest key was I need to figure out local markets related to selling resources or should I transport them? And really wanted to create a calculation for the fuel cost for transport versus the perceived value that it will cost more to sell a resource at a local market than it is to buy it at the Central Space Station. Again, if it's a hypothesis I need to test, but it would assume that if someone else transport it out there, they're going to charge basically the price of the fuel. So it's like, what is the difference there? So anyways, Coordinate took a break. But on a kind of gamer side, I have to admit, it kind of felt good because every morning I would check something and I would break and do this. And it totally makes sense. And I totally like the idea of that, this is not necessarily a job, but just something you do regularly and you're consistent on. And that's how you do things because that's how life is. And if, again, we talk about StarOS being a cyber nation and having real world things, well, yeah, some parts of it are going to feel like a job. It's not all going to be fun. Though, again, I'm totally a proponent that things need to be fun in the gameplay. But mining resources doesn't sound like something you do for fun. It's something you do to accomplish something else. So anyways, my point was that it was kind of okay not to do anything, which I don't think changes my it's not fun, but it's more of prioritization, I guess, at time. And I just haven't had the time to look at local markets. I'm sure once I figure out to my satisfaction that I understand the concept to make a decision, then move on from there. So anyways, so that's kind of it. Hope you enjoyed this. To kind of wrap up again, totally open to having podcast guests. So if anybody wants to chat, talk about the week in review, love to have any community members. Also interested in any other content creators who want to come on. Happy to promote your content since I put most of it in my news recap anyways. Also any community builders who would love to talk more or learn more about you and your products. And then of course any team members that want to talk, love to do interviews. A lot of what I'm interested in is helping people learn things. Perfect example, I still don't understand GDP, gross domestic product, in Star Atlas. So if, someone on the econ team wanted to spend 15 minutes giving us the Econ 101 explanation, that'd be an awesome podcast in my opinion. But that's just me. Anyways, and then just reminder again, I do have my merch store at intergalacticgear.com. I just have some StarOS mugs, some wall art that I'm building out, so please check that out. Do have a merch survey. Love to get any feedback on other products you'd be interested in. And again, if you're a StarOS gamer, not interested in joining a guild, want a smaller community in the StarOS Discord, I'm definitely open to being a community creator, manager of a non-guild guild, or just basically a community of StarOS gamers at intergalacticcoalition.com. So please check that out. I got an interest survey there. Other than that, thanks for listening. Hope you had a great past week in StarOS and hope you have a great week ahead. This is Matt with the Intergalactic Herald.